We are live. We are live. Welcome. Good morning to another edition of Tech Niche Tips. I'm your host, Joseph M. Smith. And like always, I have another one for you. This one is exciting because we got a family member in the building. We got none other than Tech Coach Ralph. What up, Tech Coach Ralph? How you doing, man?
What's going on, everyone? What's going on, Joseph? Finally, we're making it happen.
I know. Yep. Finally, we're making it happen for sure. And I just, wanted to just say thank you so much for doing this because, hey, listen, I know it's one thing to be joining in and chiming in the comments section because it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, I know that part of it. But in regards to just having you on the show, man, it's a lot. It's a really good thing to have you on the show because we're talking about a subject matter that a lot of people may not we haven't really talked on the show about, which is QA automation and QA and that whole entire world. So if this is something that you guys really appreciate, go ahead, hit the like button, share this with others who are maybe interested in the QA role because we have somebody who is well versed in that field and could share their experiences and just all that they've been through. In fact, I'm going to start right there because a lot of people may not be familiar with all that you have done already in your space. So for those that don't know, can you share a bit about what, like, in regards to what you're doing now, how long you've been in the role, and then we'll unpack your story from there.
All right, so I've been in tech for like the past 20 years, right? I've been doing QA for like the past 15 years. So when I got into tech, I was working technical support, answering phone calls, helping people troubleshoot their email, it was for a hosting company, all that. And then 2008 came around, layoffs came around. So then that like later in that year, 2009, I got hired by a well, they were like it was a software company for website translations, and I started doing QA there. And from there, I got into automation, and then more QA. Then I went from some different companies. So now, where I'm at now, I'm doing QA for a video streaming sports company. And so learning a bunch of different technologies, like every company that I've been in prior, like it's been a new technology, but the concept stayed the same. How to test things, how to automate things, how to facilitate QA infrastructure. So, and that's why like a lot of things that I do, it's all about infrastructure, all about strategy, all about testing. And I apply that to QA and even outside of QA, like software engineering, all that type of stuff. So that's pretty much my quick history, my TLDR.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. And we were talking before how you were originally from New York, like me, whoop, New York in the house, but you are also from Haitian descent, Haiti. I probably said that wrong, but my wife is Haitian as well. So I mean, when it comes to Haiti, I love the food. The culture is amazing. Yeah, the food is one of the best ever, I think, in the world. But can you mind talking about just kind of coming from that background and what really kind of positioned you to have an interest in specifically in QA? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but let's unpack that a little bit. Like, what made you have that interest in technology?
So yeah, so come like you said, I was born in New York. Some people might not even consider me being from New York because I was born there, but I left at like 6 months old, right?
Okay.
uh, but yeah, I went to Haiti for like 3 years, and then moved to Miami with my family when I was about 3 years old, right? And from there, my dad, he had a company, like him and his brother had a company in Haiti, and it was like for so here we would buy and export the computer equipment to Haiti, and my and his brother would sell it over there. Had a big company over there, and so I was always around computers, always around office equipment. I would go with him to his business meetings, like when he's meeting the vendors that we get the stuff from here. So I was always around it, and he would have to use computers, so I was around the computers and everything like that. And just naturally being like inquisitive, like trying things out, playing with stuff. And so I was always around the computers because of that was the business that he was in. So while my dad is like, he is not the most tech savvy, like he would be ordering stuff that he had no idea about. But I picked up on it being I was young, and I was able to like see these materials, get computers and stuff like that. So that's how I got into like interested in tech. And then we fast forward to how I got into QA. Um, just I think just the mindset of like looking around, trying to figure out what things are. It's very QA heavy, right? And then I just naturally got into that. Like honestly, like my first QA job, I don't even remember applying for it. They like because at the time in 2009, you're just applying for everything at that point because it was so hard to find something. And I got
Yeah.
a call from like from who became one of my managers, like amazing person to this day. But it's like, oh yeah, you applied. Like, oh okay, cool. So I interviewed, they liked me, and then we went from there. And then just for me, like the way that I work, like if anyone sees my channel, it's like we every single series, like work, work, work every day, right?
Yeah.
And they saw how I worked, and it's like, "Oh, okay, do you wanna do this?" And they said, "Oh," like, the CTO was like, "Hey, do you wanna go join this other team?" I was like, "Nah, I'm good over here in QA." And then, got into automation because I stayed there, and that, like, just took off from there, and been doing crazy things in the industry since then.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what we gotta give a shout out to those in the chat real quickly. We got Darcel in the building. He says, "Good morning, fam." This Mitch is like, "Yo, yo, yo, yo." I mean, he's honestly like a yo-yo. He was on your channel today, and he's on our channel. I appreciate you, man. Mitch is in the building. He said, "I will be serious today, guys." I'm not gonna lie. I said, "I want to see it, Mitch. I want to see it." Because hey, I love when you are who you are. It's amazing. Rob is in the building. Don't forget Midwest Con is coming up in September, y'all. So go ahead, check out the interview I had with Rob here on the channel. It was a great interview, and so definitely we'll talk more about that leading up. But Midwest Con is coming, so definitely y'all lock in, stay in tune. We'll be announcing it very soon here on the show. Not this show, but the morning show that we have where we announce tech events that are coming up. So definitely lock in with us.
Talk
So
that tech.
talk that tech. So yeah, real quickly in regards to QA, can you kind of just talk about what exactly QA is in case people don't know what QA is?
So QA stands for quality assurance, and pretty much, to put it, like, as simple as possible, you have to make sure that the product that you are putting out works, and it works well, because bad customer experience is what's going to sink your company. And if your company gets sunk, that means everyone who's
Mm,
working there doesn't have a job, you know? So, so it's all about adding value. And so quality assurance, it entails getting like understanding the requirements of the product that you're building, understanding like, so now also understanding how the developers are going to be building it, and then how are we going to test it? What's our testing approach? And then to actually test it, validate, make sure everything is working correctly, and then putting it out there to the public. And there are times like there's going to be it's inevitable that there's going to be defects and bugs that make it to production, but it has to be like you can't let major bugs make it there, and always having a plan of attack of like how we're going to fix it and stuff like that. I'm sure in like your position, probably in the tech sales positions, right? You'll come across like when you're looking at the software, like things that this doesn't seem like like it's working correctly, and then you have to go and report that, or somebody's going to report that to the development team, and they're gonna have to go and make adjustments.
yeah.
So like QA is there to help prevent major catastrophic things from happening, and addressing the risks and stuff like that. So in a nutshell, like that is what QA does, and coming up with strategies on how to make it more efficient to do, how to make it easier to do. So in my realm, like at an entry level, you're probably just like writing some test cases, just testing some stuff. But as you get higher into like senior positions, leadership positions, it's figuring out the strategies that is going to be used in order to make it easy, facilitate it easier, writing automation tests so that you don't have to go to manually test every single thing over and over again. Like I have scripts that we run, and they'll let us know that 99% of the application is working, so that now we just have to manually, and then we automated it as well to add that to the suite.
Wow. So in regards to you have that line of defense, and I'm going to go to the comment section right now. Rob says bad customer experience will sink your company. Facts. So to
Yep.
have QA in place is paramount. It's definitely paramount in regards to the growth and the experience that the customer has. And so let's just talk about it because you mentioned it earlier as well that you literally got the job by just applying to it. I don't know. Is that the case now where people just apply to the job, they'll get it, and then they'll get that on the job experience? Can you kind of dive deeper into that?
Not necessarily. So what happened was, because so when I was doing the technical support, I think tech support is it's like a gateway to QA, because you have to on the
Mm,
fly, understand what the person you're talking to is going through, and they might be explaining it a way that in their mind it makes sense, but they don't really know what they're talking about. So you need to be able to interpret that to what the actual problem is and walk them through how to fix that. So I think that was like, and then like being like we're growing up in Miami, I was like amongst my friends, I was the tech person. So having to help them fix whatever computer issue that they had, whatever TV issue that they had, whatever the case was, right? Helping them figure that out. So that's already like doing QA and things like that. And then at that company, when I was doing tech support, based on how I worked over there, well, the I forgot what his title was, but he was like a customer type professional services director. He's like, "Oh, we're looking to move the web development team from California to in-house down here, and we wanted you to pioneer it and stuff like that." I had like minimal web development skills at the time,
yeah.
but I was like, "All right, cool." And I figured that out, and then we became with the web development team. I was like leading that team, so I had the knowledge of like CSS, HTML, and everything like that. And then so then that kind of transitioned well into QA. So everything led to that. It's not that like I didn't know that I applied for that particular job because I was applying for everything, but I had the knowledge and the information to be able to transfer it over.
Mm, yeah, no, it sounds like you were able to that transferable skills, like we talk about all the time on the show.
Mhm.
Transferable skills, sometimes you can minimize it. Like for example, being an SDR, if you're a person that loves to recommend things to other people, and that's just a natural thing that you like to do, we could tend to downplay a skill like that, especially if you could do it in a very natural, seamless way, because you never know. There's people that are making technology every day that they're like, hey, listen, I can make this stuff, but I don't want to deal with people. I'm an introvert, whatever the case may be. So to have a personality like that, where you're like, hey, no, I could definitely do that. There's value in it, and so it's so important the things that you were saying there. You were helping your friends with their needs when it came to the computers and technology, and so it's just natural for you to do that for other things within your job. And so when you're talking about that, it makes me think, how important is curiosity to your role? Because you have to be extremely curious in order to find these different areas of need within the technology. Can you talk about curiosity and what the need and the help and what basically how that helps you with your role?
The thing I value the most is like critical thinking, curiosity, being able to research,
Mm,
because that is the start of innovation, because that's where ideas come from. So many things that I figured out in the past is just started with like a spark of like, oh, I wonder if I could do this. And then I start researching it. I'm like, okay, I got this, I got that one. Oh, okay, now we have this thing, and now it turns into something like really big, a whole infrastructure, a whole shift in mindset. So so that's like curiosity, it's innovation, critical thinking. That's the foundation. And I think that applies to like while it's helpful in QA, it applies to like tech as a whole and even things outside of tech. Because you'll see people start up these little businesses and stuff like that, and it turns into something huge because of
mm,
they were curious, like, oh, this will. And well, the thing that I think about, like, okay, what what is a problem that I'm having, and what can help me? And a lot of times, whatever problem that you're having, a lot of other people are having it too. And then that like you solve your problem, but then you solve a lot of other people's problem, and then you end up monetizing that.
yeah. Yeah, so good, so good. Y'all, if y'all finding any value in this conversation, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. But if you're also on LinkedIn, go ahead, like, comment, and share this with someone who you may be interested in learning more about the QA position as we continue this conversation. So I noticed that in one of the roles that you had, you went from being a QA analyst to basically an automation engineer, a QA automation engineer. Could you explain the difference between the two? It might be pretty straightforward, but for those that don't know, because they might say, "Hey, I thought QA was all manual. They didn't know about the automation portion of it." Could you kind of explain those two areas?
So in that particular role, so that's when I was hired to be the QA analyst, and then we had a growing need because as the company was growing, they were getting more clients, and we just couldn't test everything manually the way that we used to do. So we ended up hiring someone to do automation using a particular software, and that software is like super expensive, right? And then that person was going on vacation for a month. And so they said, all right, we're going to need somebody to be able to maintain it for like while the person is out. So they said, okay, are you interested in doing it? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I had to figure out the software. I worked with the person to get a good understanding of where they stored the scripts and everything. And from there, like I just started doing it from there. They came back for a little bit and then they left the company. So now I'm by myself after like 3 months into it, and I had to figure everything else out. So that's how I transitioned from like doing like manual testing, analyzing to actually doing automation. And while I was there, I was like, you know what? We need to start being able to test mobile sites, and that application could not do it. So I had to find a whole new way to shift the company from doing like the way that we're doing it to a different tool, a different software. And doing that, we went from like getting this software that had like each license was about 5 grand. We had like 3 or 4 licenses. We went to getting open source software, Selenium, where we could run. It's open source. You can run it on as many machines as you want, and there's no charge to it. So saving the company like 15 grand and being able to test a lot more, a lot faster than we used to. Muted.
Saving the company money, that is always going to work well. That is always going to work well. So the fact that you're able to do that within your role is amazing. And so I've seen, like, based off your career, you basically decided to move forward within that direction of QA. You haven't really moved off of it. And then you decided to do content creation. Can you talk about why you decided to go into content creation, even though you didn't really have to?
So, so I'm gonna give you the personal selfish reason first, right? So there are so many different things that I want to learn, and I was like, oh, I get to it. But then you're like, oh yeah, but I want to watch this episode of Chicago PD, right? And Mitch knows what I'm talking about. And then you start watching it, then you're like, oh, I'm tired. All right, you never get to it. So I'm like, you know what? I need to hold myself accountable. I'm going to stream learning the stuff that I want to learn, and to show how actually like compare how they show you learning is in like a pre-recorded video where they edit and stuff like that versus the stuff that you actually run into when you're like because when you're doing things like what you actually run into and how you can Google and how you can research and how you can figure it out. And because there's been so many different streams where like I think it's gonna go one way and then you run into a roadblock and you have no idea what's going on and you have to research a bunch of Stack Overflows and like okay, finally got it and now we can move forward. So that's like the selfish reason, like to hold myself accountable to do more and to show everyone else what's out there. Now, the other part of it is many people that I came across in years past, just like, oh, I want to go into tech, I want to grow my career and stuff like that. I want to learn this, I want to learn that. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then they don't, right? And then, but I still got my learning out of it. I did what I had to do. And then seeing like a lot of the information that's giving on, oh, it's so easy to do this, so easy to do that. I'm like, no, tech is super hard. Tech is hard, all right. So
Yeah.
I'm like, and here's the thing: a lot of the online courses, a lot of the boot camps, they're going to get you a certain part of the way there. But
Yeah.
then they also market it with, oh, if you just do this, you're gonna get the bag, you're gonna be making all this money. And I'm like, it's not really accurate, and you don't have enough info, like you don't have enough information because you might have like the skills to do a particular job,
Hmm.
but there's 5 other things that go with it. Learning how to do like specifically for like software engineering, QA engineering, stuff like that. Learning how to navigate through the agile methodology with Scrum or Kanban, how to use Jira, how to use like Git and things like that, database and things like that. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to create an environment where you're actually going to be working as you would be doing on the job that you want to pay you so that you can actually see what it's really like and you can actually gain some experience. So now when you go into this interview, you can actually have a conversation confidently about what you're doing. And they're like, okay, like, are you sure you would have did this, to get you up to
Yeah.
speed, have something to put on your resume, have something to talk about, all that good stuff. And building something that is actually live so that you can say, like, because one of my guys, Ferris, right? He was saying like he had an interview the other day and he's just told to the people, like, because they asked him, like, okay, what are you working on? What are you interested in? He's like, can I just show you? And he pulled it up on screen. And they were like, wow, they were impressed by it, So and that's the mentality that I want you to have. Like, don't be in a position where you have to like hope and beg and wish. No, be in the position like this is who I am. This is what I do, and you can like make them say wow. And when you can make them say wow, things are gonna change.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like be ready, be prepared, because that was all preparation. What your friend did, like he was
Mhm.
prepared, he was ready, and he was able to present something. And you help people prepare by actually becoming a coach for them, working on their resumes. And so that's where I want to kind of unpack that as well. Is that did that come out of content creation, or that came out of people just reaching out to you? Said, you know what, I need to help people. I need to coach people to be where they want to be.
So I made a lot of friends in the because the company, the translation company where I went from regular QA into automation. I made a lot of friends there because I was there for like 7 years. And at some point, when things started going like not the way that we wanted to go there, I was like, all right, everyone who I'm close to, it's time for us to make an exit plan. And I would review their resumes and like, all right, this is how I have mine. I spoke to a recruiter one time. All right, they said like, all right, do this for your resume. They said, don't use a PDF because when it's going through the readers and stuff, it's trying to parse it. It's going to be harder using a PDF. So I tell everyone, we're going to use Word docs. We're going to have it easily formatted so it can be broken down very easily. It doesn't have to be pretty because guess what? Whatever is tracking, like whatever is parsing it, it's not looking for the design, right? So let's do that. Let's put all of our skills and let's put like all of our accomplishments that we did and go from there. So I was always reviewing resumes, helping my friends get into better places. So then when it came to like starting to create content and helping like expanding outside of just my friend group, because I'm like, all right, they're good, they're in a good space, they got their jobs. Now I have all this information. Let me see if I can share it. And seeing the resumes that people were sending to me, there was one resume that I got, and I'm thinking like, I thought this person was just out of college or something because there was nothing on the resume. And I'm talking to this person, and I'm like, "Did you just get out of college just because your resume?" Like, "Oh no, I've been working in this, and I've been working for like 20 years." I'm like, "20 years? What are you talking about? Your resume has nothing on it." They, "Oh, the program that I did, they told me like not to put all my prior history and stuff like that." Because I'm like, "No, you have to take your prior history and you have to make it. You have to like start plugging things in that relates to the job that you're trying to get."
Hmm.
Make it relatable. And so like whether you're coming from medical or financial, QA, or it's like just like the tech is everywhere. So you have to plug that in so that they can see like, okay, although you weren't particularly in this role, but you did go out there and get the education for it and you have some experience, but how did that like what other ways did you apply this throughout your whole career? And that's like those are the things I was seeing like there's terrible resumes, right? And that's why I made a video called like I think I called it like crappy resumes or something like that about like all the flaws that we have in the resumes and how you can change that to show that you actually know what you're doing and that you have experience and that you are like so you can articulate yourself a lot better.
I think that's an important thing, and sometimes it's lost. Sometimes it's bad information, but really that's what it is like being able to really present the best parts of yourself for that next job. And so right now, y'all, thank you so much for watching. We're going to actually transition to the Q&A portion of the show after a quick commercial break. But what I want you to do is to go ahead to youtube.com/ at tech niche tips. It's actually in the ticker on the bottom, youtube.com/ at tech niche tips. Sorry, LinkedIn, we're going to lose you after this, but for all those on YouTube, you can be able to join the live Q&A. And the question I'm going to ask, Tech Coach Ralph, and you could always ask your questions as well in the chat. But the question that I'm going to specifically ask him is, with the emergence of AI, is the QA role dead? And that's what I'm going to ask him when we come back from the QA. So if you want to be a part of that, jump onto the YouTube side, and we'll definitely be chatting and having that conversation. If you want to go ahead and subscribe, and again, share this with others as well. And I will look forward to seeing you on the other side. So definitely, if you have not already, go to youtube.com. I'm going to say it one more time, just in case. youtube.com/ at Tech Niche Tips, and you'll be able to check out right there the excuse me, can't talk right now, but you'll be able to check out the Q&A section. So we'll see you on the other side. Do you feel stuck? Do you feel like you're just at the same place in your career and you don't really see a way out, this is a great time for you to take it to the next level. Level Careers is a course that I've been talking about for some time. From account executive and even sales engineering, there are courses that can help you propel from where you are now to where you want to go. Check out the link below, use my promo code Joseph10, and check out the free courses, whether that's the SOC Analyst course, the Account Executive course, or the Sales Engineer course. Take your career to the next level. All right, we are back, and now we're going to dive into that question. And this is going to be for everybody that's in the chat. Definitely start putting your questions in there. I already got one from Mitch. I'm going to save that, but I wanted you to answer that question with the emergence of AI, because that's actually something they're saying about SDRs. With the emergence of AI, we're going to lose our jobs, right? And so, is that the same thing for QA? Do you feel like that might be an issue with people that are trying to transition into that field?
So trying to transition, that's a tough one, because with transitioning into QA, there are not really entry level jobs in QA, unless it is for a company that it has to be on site for whatever, maybe security reasons or whatever it is that they're doing. It has to be on site, and that way they can't outsource it, because a lot of people, they go, oh, I want remote, I want remote, I want remote. But if they can, I said the other day, if they can hire you remote here, they can hire you remote in India or Pakistan or some other country, right? So, and that's why I don't necessarily think it's AI that's the big threat to QA, because AI, like there is like a visual component, an automation component to software that you're building, that there needs to be some type of human interaction with it. Now, you might not need as many QAs as you used to, especially with the use of automation, because back in the days, you would have thousands of manual testers because there was no automation. But now I can write a script, and I can write scripts and stuff. I can spend like a month writing a bunch of tests, and I can run it every single day. And every single day is doing the job of 1,000 people. So,
wow.
So with that being said, like, so there's always going to be a need for for manual testing, but when you have like manual, if you say, oh, I'm only going to do manual testing, or you say I'm only going to do automation testing, if a company, like some companies, they're going to need to have like a separation of labor per se, but if it's like not one of those like regulated companies and things like that, then you're gonna find the person who can do both, who can do automation and can do manual, and who can optimize at the way that they approach, especially in an agile methodology, where they can do both. They can do the manual testing, because if you do it correctly, there's gonna be very, very minimal manual testing that you need to do, and then you focus more on automation and regression testing and things like that. So I don't necessarily think it's the AI that's the big threat for QA. I think it's more of transitioning for and looking for like, oh, a entry level manual testing. When I first started serving, I would search for manual testing jobs all the time, and I could not find anything on LinkedIn for manual testing QA jobs.
You know why I'm smiling? Because Mitch actually had that question. He said, I only want to be a manual QA. Is this possible? I don't want to be a automation QA. And it sounds like you're saying no, that's not possible at this stage.
I'm gonna say it is a 97.68% chance that you're not going to get it here in the US. You might be able to get it in another country, but and I mean, like, there's still gonna be some jobs here that's gonna be manual testing, right?
Yeah.
But it's gonna be hard to find. And guess what? For the person with the mindset of Mitch, right? Like who might have went to like a program where they only did like manual testing, and now they're told they're gonna make, oh, you're gonna make like $80,000, $90,000 a year doing manual testing. And then you find, like, when you go to apply for it, number one, you can't find what you do find. You find one, right? You find one. And you go to apply for it, but LinkedIn tells you that there's like 10,000 people who are applying for it as well. So you're like, okay, I don't know.
Competition is stiff.
So if you can find it locally, if it's possible to find it locally, then you have a better chance. But it's hard. It's hard because even if you get that manual, they're gonna have an expectation that you're gonna be going to do automation soon.
Yeah, so they're like saying, hey, you're not gonna be able to stay there. You have to elevate for sure. I'm gonna
because
go to
it costs so much.
I see what you're saying. I'm gonna go to Faris's comment, and then Mitch has a couple more than we'll go to. But Faris says, "What soft skills are highly needed for now and in the future for QA?"
My number one is always going to be critical thinking skills, um, knowing how to think outside the box. Because uh, a funny like a funny, I guess I don't know if it's an analogy or whatever, but it said between developers and QA, right? The difference: developers write code with the expectation that everything works. QA test codes with the expectation of nothing works, and then it falls somewhere in the middle. So knowing, like thinking of how can I break things, how can I maneuver, thinking like, okay, if I was to do this, what would happen? Thinking about risks and things like that. I think, but in addition to soft skills, you have to have great communication skills. That you need to be able. So one thing that's helped me a lot is being able to communicate with the business side of things and then being able to communicate with the technical side of things. And I'm kind of like sitting there in the middle where I can easily get into a really technical conversation with the developers and understand what they're talking about. And then I can take that information and I can also have that conversation with like a product manager or some type of stakeholder or something like that. Even like I even having like when I was a few companies ago talking to the account managers, talking to the sales engineers, and we're having that conversation of like, okay, this is what you need the software to do. This is how you do it. Like when I was at the translation company, we had a QA person dedicated to working with the sales engineers to create demos and things like that, make sure everything is working the way that they want it to work. So we had that bridge over there. So like those soft skills of like being like not having a bad attitude, for example, right? Being positive, being able to communicate, even if you're introverted, having those spots of extroversion so you can have a lively conversation to help people out. And then after that, if you have to go crash afterwards, then do that. But adding value. So like at the end of the day, everything comes down to whether it's technical, whether it's soft skills, it's adding value.
Adding value, adding value. Darcel has a question as well as Mitch, but I'm going to go to a couple of Mitches and then go back to Darcel. He says, "I'm looking to get into QA. Could you give me one or two pros slash cons of this role?"
So I'll start off with the cons, right? Depending on and I see this happens to a lot of people in QA where they one of the cons is, let's say you're working in an agile environment in Scrum and you have 2 week sprints. So sprint is like every 2 weeks you're delivering, starting over. A lot of times what happens is the engineers, they'll work on their development for a good 1.5 weeks. And now you have like a couple of days to try to get everything done. That is a con that I see for a lot of people, but there's ways around it. There's a way to manage it. Another con is when things don't work, QA seems to take that whole like if something was deployed and it didn't work, QA seems to take that whole burden on themselves, and now they feel bad about it and they get worried and stuff like that. And so I think it puts a lot of pressure because number one, if you're getting things late and you have to rush it, when you rush, that's when you're gonna make mistakes. And then like you sign off on it because you're pretty much the final say on it. You sign off on it, and then you have issues. Now you feel like, oh man, I messed up, and so then now you're worried about your job and whatever the case may be. So now the pros is that you're able to be creative. Like you're a leader in QA, whatever position you are in QA, you're a leader because if the final decision is being put on you, then that means it's on you to actually lead and say, okay, this is the approach that we need to take. These are the risks that I see. You can like, and then you get to explore new technologies. One of the things I love about being in QA is that the work that I do, I'm not putting it into production code, so I can be a little bit more innovative. I can be a little bit more exploratory in like what I come up with. Okay, we're gonna implement this thing into our automation, and then I'm able to also be able to help a lot of other QAs who like the other day I was helping one of the people at my company with like getting into Docker and how to validate images images on a video and things like that, which putting that in production software, like you might be very hesitant because you don't know how it's going to work there. But in the QA code, it's not affecting production, so we're able to be a lot more innovative and things like that. So to me, like those are like some of the pros and some of the cons of the role.
And that's really good. Darcel also says, what motivation tips can you give to someone that isn't holding themselves accountable but have a goal to get into tech, especially a QA role that is hard to get into?
I mean, if you like if you're not holding yourself accountable and you want someone else to hold you accountable, you can come work with me. And I mean, because I had a video like was it last week. I'm like, I'm not your friend. All right. If you want to get somewhere, I'm not gonna be your friend because I'm gonna tell you the truth. And if you're messing
Mm,
up, then you're gonna have to go on a performance improvement plan before I kick you out because we don't have time to waste. A
mm,
lot of like, and what I think this is a little bit going off, but what one of the biggest problems that we have um, is that we find out about this stuff too late, and now by the time we have to get into it, we are way behind other people, and so they have a
mm.
head start, and it's not their
Yeah.
fault; it's our fault because we didn't have the people to tell us about, hey, all we're thinking about is, oh, having fun, playing sports and stuff like that. When
Yeah.
like I said, I was exposed to tech since I was a child, and now I've been able to do. And even with me, I wish when I was going into college, I had understood what computer science was better because I would have made better decisions. I would have been more prepared. So if you're not holding yourself accountable, like number one, are you using your calendar? If everything is not scheduled on your calendar, then you're not holding yourself accountable. And
Mm.
things can shift on your calendar, but you need to have that. You need to have that source of truth that okay, schedule the time that I'm going to work. And you need to be hard on yourself. So many times, oh, you're like, oh, like you're being too hard on yourself. No, I think you need to be hard on yourself to hold yourself accountable and say, all right, if I don't do what I'm like, how are you penalizing yourself when you don't do what you're supposed to do? Maybe you need to pay somebody something, to figure that out because you're not like you need it needs to hurt. If it doesn't hurt, then it's not worth it.
If it does not hurt, it's not worth it. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. I'm gonna actually go to the comment here from Mitch, and then I'm gonna go to Faris real quickly. But Mitch says, "So there's no entry level QA positions. How do you recommend I get started? Is there a role I should target before I get into QA?"
So that's gonna lead me to a question that I have for you, Joseph. But before we get to that question, so for me, I think the best thing that I did with not even seeing QA in the future was going to tech support, being able to talk to customers on the phone and being able to help them and walk them through their problems. Because then I always had that mindset. Everything I did after that, I will be on the phone with like my mom or my dad or whoever, and I'll walk them through whatever they have to do to figure something out. And so that was like one of the parts that helped me a lot. So technical support, people might like, oh, but if I took this program and I was supposed to be making 60, 70, $80,000 a year getting started, now you're telling me that I have to go to work a 15, $20 an hour job to get the experience to get into there. And I'm like, yeah, like sorry, but yes, because if you're looking at a short term thing, then maybe it's not for you. But if you want to be there for the long run, then you're gonna have to put the time, you're gonna have to invest your time and effort to because there's been people who've been doing it for a very, very long time who went to school for it, and not necessarily for QA, but for like they got their degrees and stuff like that. And like I was saying earlier, we didn't do what we were supposed to do. We went and did what made us feel good and was not actually good for us. And now we're like trying to scramble and hoping to do a quick fix. One of our biggest problems is that we want things fast, and things that come fast usually end in disaster.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you microwave things, they don't get a chance to cook, get all that goodness in it. It's not gonna taste the same. It's not gonna
Exactly.
taste the same for
So let me
sure.
ask you
That's
this real quick, Joseph. Let me ask you
yes, sir.
because like you are primarily in the tech sales, SDR, BDR realm, maybe account manager a little bit in that area. I don't know how close
It's
they
all
are
it's
to the
all
tech sales.
close in the realm, same realm. Yeah.
So but from what I've seen, it seems like there's like a lower barrier to entry into tech sales than pretty much anything else in tech. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So what I would because I'm not too familiar with the tech sales yet, but what I would say though, if that barrier to entry into tech is easier into tech sales, why not go into tech sales? Because you're still going to have to talk to people, and you're going to get in the tech field. You're going to learn about the technology that the company that you're working for is doing. And now you're going to be like, let's say you want to be a software engineer, you want to be a QA engineer, you want to be cybersecurity, whatever. Now you are in the building with these people.
Yeah.
Start looking up your company directly. Say, okay, who does this? Who does that? Make sure you do an amazing job at the tech sales, at the BDR, at the SDR, at the account manager. You have to be the best, but that doesn't have to be your end goal. You might end up liking it and want to stay there, cool. But if you want to do more, find a way in the door, and now start networking within the company.
Yeah,
network within the company and talk to those people. Now, in software development, we have our Scrum, we have our sprint reviews. Start trying to attend those sprint reviews. Find out what they're developing, because guess what? That's going to make you even better at tech sales, at the SDR to BDR, because you're going to know what the company's building. You're going to know the new features, and you can be the first to talk about it to your customers, to your prospects. And now from there, because now they're going to see your face. Oh, this person, Joseph came to our sprint review. Oh, and he reaches out to us asking about what we're working on, giving feedback and things like that, asking questions. Like, we know Joseph. And it's like, oh, Joseph, like, I see you have a lot of issues. Oh, because I had an interest in becoming in like a software developer, software engineer, DevOps. And, oh, okay. So now they have an opening. It's like, hey, Joseph, we have this opening. You should definitely check it out. And they're going to invite you to the things. You're going to become friends with them. So now they know you. And for me, that is the true networking, by doing it within to the people who are where you want to be. Talk to the people who are where you want to be, and then they're going to help you there. Because tech people, although we're very introverted, we love to help. We love to talk. I plan to go live today for like an hour. I went it for an hour and a half. All right. So we love to talk. We love to share information, but you have to get it out of us. And then after that, we won't shut up, just like right now. Right. So I'm shutting up.
No, what's so funny is that it's true though. Like, even though being an SDR is like on this side of the business, in regards to customer facing, and it's really about getting an interest for people to actually sit down with an AE and be able to say, hey, maybe this product's a good thing for me, and then having a sales engineer demo the product for them and kind of walk them through that. You're right. Being an SDR is one of the quickest ways to get into a company. And if you have the right intention, if you network internally, even though it's not the most conventional route, if you could show enough that, hey, I'm trying to grow in this area, connecting with the right people, you're showing that, and you're doing good at your SDR job, because that's the thing you can't forget. Like you just said, you have to show that you're doing good at the role that you're being hired for. Then there's this period more or less around the 18-month mark where you're transitioning and you could pivot to other areas of the company. I know SDRs have pivoted to marketing, client solutions. So there's that point where you can pivot. And if you already have built that brand within the company, then they're going to be like, okay, yeah, I could definitely see, myself, Joe. I could definitely see Joe being in QA because he's been with us the whole time. Like, everything that Ralph said is absolutely true. So if you want to reach out, if you want to go into the SDR position and make that pivot, then we could definitely talk about that for sure.
I remember Astrid had mentioned that that's like, I think Astrid was last week, I believe.
Yeah.
And was mentioning how that was similar to her when they said, "Oh, are you interested in trying this?" And then she transitioned from whatever she was like, from I think business development representative on BDR, SDR. She was one of those, and then she transitioned to I think account management
or CSM role,
customer success manager. Yeah, so it's like, and for me, like you mentioned, like it might not be a traditional route. I don't care. Like when it comes to work, I don't care about tradition. I don't care. Like the route that gets you to where you want to go, that's what you're gonna have to do, right? And it's gonna be a lot of work, but it's gonna be worth it at the end. It's gonna be meaningful at the end.
Yes, totally agree. Absolutely agree with that. And then Farah says, a follow up: where can we build business literacy skills to translate technical to business focused audiences?
So honestly, for me at least, it's just been over time understanding the business, talking to the project managers, talking to the the support team, like you're just talking to other like people who work in other areas. For me, I've always worked closely with people outside of the tech team because just I guess based off my my technical support background, they would come to me when they didn't understand something, and I walk them through it, help them and stuff like that. And every industry has their own business literacy skills, but it's more about researching and being open minded to it. So a video that I'm working on for this coming Wednesday is about business analysts and what they do. And for me, they are one of the unsung heroes at their companies because
Mm,
they sit like they're very similar to QA, to be honest with you. They might be a little less technical than QA, but they need to understand the tech side because they're getting all the information from the stakeholders, and they need to write the documentation and translate it to the technical, like what we need to build. And for I would say I'm gonna suggest this on that video is that hey, maybe even if you're not looking to become a business analyst, take the course so that you can understand like what they're looking for. And because not all companies have business analysts, but I think everyone should have a business analyst mindset because a lot of times developers like I just want to code, they're only looking at the code, and
mm.
I'm able to add value by looking at all sides of it. So I'm doing the QA. I'm looking at okay, what's the business value? What are the risks? What's the customer experience? Because I've worked on teams where we didn't have business analysts, we didn't have UI UX people. So thinking about it from a customer perspective, thinking about it from a business perspective, making sure that the work that the team is doing is adding more and more value. And that helps you as well because now it's like they don't want to lose you because you're filling these roles, these gaps. Not saying you have to do the whole total job,
Yeah.
but what it like try to fill the gaps that's going to make the team work smoothly and produce a better product. And when you do that, then it's like, you want more money? Here's some more money. Or other companies are going to say, hey, we'll pay you this much more money to come work for us.
Wow. And so that made me ask another question as you're talking. Should people consider being a business analyst since it's so closely related to QA, even though it doesn't have that technical aspect as much? Should that be a focus for people if they don't want to be an SDR?
So my thing is before like I don't recommend I put the information out there. I don't recommend any particular thing because it's all about the research. I say look at what's the need at the moment, right?
Mm,
Because you might go and say, okay, I'm gonna come become a business analyst, but um there might be a low need for it now, but there might be in a year there might be a higher need for it. How long is it going to take you to ramp up? So I like before I ever say
mm,
when someone says, "Oh, I'm interested in doing this," okay, what's the availability? One of the problems that a lot of people do is they just take at face value what somebody else tells them about, oh, this role, that role, this whatever role, and then when they go to apply, it's not there. So same thing, like people go into like, oh, manual testing, which to me, manual testing is something that you need to learn, but it can't be your end all be all. Same way for so I would say, all right, let's go on LinkedIn, let's go on Glassdoor, let's go on Indeed. I'm not crazy about Indeed, but let's go on Indeed. Whatever job boards that there are, let's search for business analysts. How many roles are there? Now on Glassdoor, what do business analysts actually do? What is the pay? Because you might, oh, this sounds really cool. And they told me, oh, you can make this much, and then you look it up, like, oh, this is not what they told me. And I done paid all this money for this course.
yeah.
And what is the trajectory? Are there any entry level business analyst roles? Because you might still have to go into like, let's say you learn business analyst, you still have to learn tech sales to get into tech sales or SDR or BDR, and then to become that business analyst. It just depends. Like so, it's a possibility, but it's not something like, oh, just go ahead and do this because you don't know. You just don't know what it's going to bring. But having the skill set is very valuable because even if you're not a business analyst, let's say you're a QA analyst or a QA whatever, and but you have those business analyst skills that you can apply to that position, adding more and more value, and now you can also demand more money.
Yeah. So it sounds to me it's the focus of going through a course is you definitely want to get a job that's available, but also it's the pursuit of knowledge. The pursuit of knowledge should be what is the focus because having that knowledge is what's going to open the doors for you. like having the knowledge for you, like when you had the knowledge of helping your friends, that opened the doors to now being in QA and all those different things that literally where you are right now because you had a pursuit or a hunger for knowledge. Let's say that somebody, and this is probably our last question for this episode, unless anybody wants to add any more questions in the chat. If I have missed it, let me know. But I think I went through all the questions. What would you say for the person that is just constantly consuming knowledge, but they're having analysis paralysis where they're not taking action on the knowledge that they're consuming? What would you say to that person to help them get to where they need to go?
So, you remember Kanye West's first album, with
College dropout.
College Dropout, right? And he had that little skit about the little Jimmy's dad acquiring all these degrees, but he never worked. He never did anything with it, right? I say, like,
Yeah.
if you're not actually putting what you're learning to use, then what does it really mean anything? Like, what's the purpose? So
Mm,
the thing that I say the most is whatever it is that you're learning, put it to use and build something. Like I said earlier, put it out there in the public. Don't be afraid of criticism. Don't be afraid of I don't know about you, but if you ever get like negative comments and stuff like that based on the work that what you put out, but who cares? Because guess what? You're putting something out
hmm.
there. If you don't like it, cool, go somewhere else. I tell people, like, I'll tell people this in a heartbeat. Like, okay, you don't like the way that I run things over here. Fine, go somewhere else. Like,
Yeah.
maybe like your channel is way better suited than my channel. I don't like. I at the end of the day, I want you to win. And if you can't win with me, well, with somebody else. But one thing that I'm allergic to is complaining.
Mm,
Stop complaining. Get to work. So you're learning something. You learn, like, as you're learning stuff. I say the strategy that I use is, as I'm learning something, I'm actually finding something that is useful to me, that I like, because it's gonna make me want to do it more. And everything that I've done in this past year, they build upon each other. So when I wanted to learn mobile development, right? It was because I had an app in mind, and then I totally ended up building the time cost calculator. When I wanted to learn Terraform, which is infrastructure as code, like building on like Amazon Web Services and things like that, it
hmm.
was because I was at work and I did something in Amazon, and one of the engineers says, "Oh yeah, we should actually move it to Terraform." I'm like, I don't know anything about Terraform. I said, you know what? We're gonna learn Terraform on my channel on Sundays. And since September, I think since either end of August, beginning of September, every Sunday we've been working on Terraform. Oh, like, and from there, the app that I'm building with my coaching group so they can get experience, I use Terraform to build infrastructure. From knowing nothing about, like, barely knowing much about AWS, not knowing anything about Terraform, we have a whole infrastructure that we've built on that live. And finding, like, whatever you're learning, use it. If you don't
Yeah.
use it, then it's useless. If you don't use it, it's useless. Is that fair to say? Like, if you don't use something, it's totally useless. You
Mm,
know?
yeah. And Darcel says, yeah, definitely an advocate for taking courses for knowledge. Barrett says self criticism is a must. And then also Mitch, I know you say that be serious. He's like, who's giving negative comments? I got those Tyson hands for him. No, I appreciate that, man. Always supporting. So maybe laugh out loud. But that's so it's so true. Like, and I love that concept of what you do where you're taking, okay, let's learn this together, and you're bringing that to everybody, and it's in what may seem like, you said, selfish. It's really for the benefit and the greater good of everybody that's participating. So I love that concept. Y'all go ahead and check out at Tech Coach Ralph here on YouTube. He goes through a lot of different things. He's probably streaming like what, 5 times a day, 5 times a week, I mean.
Oh, yeah, we're going like 6 times a week now.
Yeah, 6 times a week. So
Yep.
there's always going to be something that you could learn, especially if you're looking at transition into QA or another technical role. I'm pretty sure that you could comment on the stream and he could probably give you some tidbits. And then also, I believe you still do coaching on the side, right? You still do like one-on-one coaching.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so definitely
Spots are
connect with tech.
limited, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely connect with Tech Coach Ralph. And I didn't say this earlier, but I'm going to say this right now. I was so glad that you were the guest for this, because this is officially the 100th episode on the podcast.
See,
So
this isn't gonna work, but I'm gonna do it. You see, like, You, Joseph, like you gotta get a soundboard. You gotta get it because how are we gonna celebrate the 100th episode without you know?
Yeah, I gotta get that all worked out. I gotta get that all worked out. My thing is being consistent and growing gradually. But I gotta. There's a lot of things I gotta add on to this to make it like great. But yeah, this is. I was looking at it last week and I'm like, man, Tech Coach Ralph is gonna be the 100th
That's
podcast
awesome.
episode.
I'm honored. I'm honored. Like I remember, like I mean, I know. Like let's call this overtime real quick. I remember when we first connected, we were hanging out on pocket watching with JT,
Yeah,
and you sent me an invite. You sent me a what you say? You sent me a I think you subscribe or something like that. And somehow we connected from there, and we've been chatting ever since. And then I saw your show, and we've been like just been connected since then. You know.
yeah, man. And whenever I can, I try to support as well.
I appreciate it. I
And
appreciate it.
just and this is my way of supporting is bringing people on that are doing amazing things and saying y'all follow them, like, comment, and subscribe to their stuff, to their show, to their stuff, and also follow them on LinkedIn and connect with them because listen, I mean, I won't say the guest's name, but there's a guest last year that came on and shared, and he said it like there was almost 100 people that followed him after it, and it was pivotal in his trajectory in regards to what he's doing now. And so we want to have that support, follow, and really support and show people, hey, I actually appreciate what you're doing because this is a labor of love for sure. And
Awesome.
Mitch says 100. I said 100. He said 100 dope. Congrats. Thank you so much. He says, sorry, Joe, I had a slide one in. I couldn't help it in regards to the mic.
Yeah, I have to say, Mitch is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
we do like he had a comment like numbers manipulate. Look at the numbers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's based off like the Saturday morning show that we do. Like, Mitch is always in the comments, like giving us like all this information of like what these numbers mean and how to interpret them and things like that. So I named the show. Mitch named the show. He named it "Men Lie, Women Lie, Numbers Manipulate."
That is hilarious. That is a funny. Hey, and that's a great collaboration right there. Mitch,
let me just before, and I just want to say something, right? Because I think like whatever it is that you're doing, this tech stuff can seem like really hard. It can seem really boring, but it's on you to make it fun. I would rather find something that is going to have a good trajectory and make you a lot of money and stuff like that, and I make that fun instead of trying to take something that was perceived fun and try to make that make a lot of money, because I think it's easier to do the other one instead of like, all right, I really want to, I don't know, do something. Like I really want to like be a window washer or something. Now I have to find a way to make the window washing make a lot of money. It's like, or I know tech is going to pay me a lot of money and I have so many opportunities. Now, how can I make it fun? And how I can make it fun is boom, we have parties and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And we just hang out, we chill, we have fun, but we're learning. We're learning in the process, And I think if you apply that strategy, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit.
Love it. And then they got the lights going in the background. You got to teach me your ways, Techco Drop. You got to teach me your ways. But thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Tech Niche Tips. I'm your host, Joseph M. Smith. This was the 100th podcast episode. It's going to be dropping on Apple, Spotify, wherever podcasts are sold. It's going to be dropping there right after this episode. So definitely check that out. And thank y'all for rocking with us. Again, the 100th episode. The 100th episode. Yeah, man. Oh, man. Love it, man. Until next time, family, I hope to see you on the other side.